are the co-founders of Dipper.
Dipper is a technology platform that guides professionals of color to a better workplace, one review at a time.
Dipper is your safe space. It is the time for you to share your voice with a community that you are a part of. Visit us and join today at ourdipper.com.
Welcome to the virtual launch of ourdipper.com. We have enjoyed adding to our lineup, and today we have a great guest, my dear friend. I'm so excited. But before we dive into the dynamic conversation, I want to share more about Dipper, which is a tech platform for all people of color, Black, Brown, Asian, and Indigenous professionals of all levels, including C-suite, to rate and review their workplaces. Members have profiles and can access the inside scoop on which companies to join and, guess what, stay away from. And members can also engage with other members on Dipper's newsfeed. So today, our topic is remotivation, remote work. And let me start by introducing our guest, Sarah. Jacinta, take it away.
Thanks so much, Netta. And Sarah, we're so excited. I feel like the gang is back. Like we're back
finally.
Yes, so Sarah Aviram has worked in HR and talent development leadership roles at companies like Avon, PepsiCo, and IAC. In 2019, she worked remotely from 12 different countries as the director of, really? You have to tell us more. As the director of talent development for IAC, while also researching and living the future of work. The more time she spent with other remote workers, the more she realized that they often felt stuck and unfulfilled, even with the freedom and flexibility of their lifestyle. This experience, combined with her HR experience, influenced her decision to write and publish a book that became a #1 Amazon bestseller, 2 snaps for you, called Remotivation, the Remote Worker's Ultimate Guide to Life-Changing Fulfillment. She now has her own business facilitating corporate workshops on how to activate and manage core drivers of our fulfillment and performance at work, no matter where we're located. And what we want to dive into your journey, and we're so excited to hear about your perspective on remote work.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. It's so exciting to be with both of you today.
I know.
So exciting. And how did the opportunity come about to work remotely in 12, not like 3, 12 different countries in 2019? Like we got to know more about that first.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Netta lived this with me side by side. It was amazing. So, okay, I'm going to take you back to the end of 2018. And there was some restructuring in the company. And for a small period of time, I reported to the CEO of my company. And he said to me, I want you to bring me ideas of what does the future of work look like? What are the trends we should be considering? How do we compete for talent? And as Jacinta said, I was the director of talent development for this tech company called, one division of IAC. And so I did my research, and one of the main themes that kept coming up was around remote work. So even back then, way pre-COVID, companies were setting themselves up as now, what we're calling remote first or fully distributed, not even having offices. So that trend was growing. And from the employee side, many people were wanting the freedom and flexibility to work from anywhere. And they were comfortable not staying in one company for a long period of time, or being a contractor or a freelancer so that they can just work on whatever projects they wanted to. And I was really fascinated by this trend. And at the time, and the CEO will admit it, that he didn't even love when people worked from home on a Friday, let alone be gallivanting around the world. But I brought to him this trend and brought the data and the facts and, everything to back it up. And he saw, that is the future. And if we want to compete for talent, we're going to have to offer that type of flexibility as an organization. And in the meantime, I'd found out about a company called Remote Year. And Remote Year, they're not a job provider, but they facilitate your ability to work in different parts of the world. They provide you with a living accommodations, a co-working space, travel logistics, and a cohort of different professionals that you can travel with. And I thought, well, this is amazing because I can do this experiment and be a guinea pig to see, you know, what are the opportunities and the challenges of working remotely from different places. And so we created the plan that I would do this 1-year program. I signed up for a set itinerary, a different country every month for 12 months. I would do my job remotely. And in addition, I would be researching and understanding, you know, what the challenges remote workers face. So that's how it came about. And 2 months later, I was on a one-way flight to Lima, Peru. Yeah.
I love it. I love that you were able to really dive into it, right? And you said, hey, let me look into the data. Let me show how remote work is so cutting edge. And look at us now. Look at the state that we're in. I know that you're getting calls left and right. And listen, I'm going to put this out to the LinkedIn world. Every single organization right now needs to be contacting you. Okay.
Thanks,
you know the ins and outs of this, and I'm really, really excited to dive in. But what can employers do to make sure that people are staying focused, committed, and happy in terms of remote work?
Yeah. So what's interesting now is that giving an employee that flexibility, it's going to become a commodity, right? That every organization is going to do it. So that can't be the leg up anymore. COVID accelerated this trend by at least a decade, this trend of remote work, right? And what's happening now, I'm sure you guys have heard, this time is being called the Great Resignation, right? It's like people are quitting their jobs because if companies are saying you have to come back to the office, and people are saying, you know what? We just proved we were just as productive, if not more, from home. I'm enjoying this flexibility. I don't want to go back to the office, or they're still nervous for good reason about, you know, COVID and things like that. And so they're saying, I'm willing to go somewhere else if you don't give me that flexibility. So, okay, so now let's say companies give that flexibility. Is that then enough? And it's funny because it goes back to some of the fundamentals. You asked, what can companies do? It's these 6 core motivators that I discovered from my research that they can help activate in their employees. So this is what I found from interviewing hundreds of remote workers and doing surveys. And this is what my book is based on. What really drives us to perform at our best and feel fulfilled at our work and stay? So the 6 are our relationship to money, our identity, our routines, growth, impact, and joy. So what I found from my experience was that those remote employees that were best able to manage and activate each of those motivators to their benefit were the ones that were most fulfilled and performing at their best. So what can a company do? They can do a lot of what you guys talk about, really treat them as whole individuals that bring their whole selves to the organization and have their own personal obstacles they're dealing with, like their relationship to their money, identity, and routines. They can help them figure out, like, how do we reduce some of that pressure you feel, your financial pressure, emotional pressure of, you know, what you think you should do versus like what you actually want to be doing. How do you help them figure out, you know, what obstacles are getting in the way of performing at their best? And then let's focus on the growth, impact, and joy. So what skills do they want to develop here? How can we help them? What experiences do they want to have? What value do they want to provide to this organization? What kind of work do they like doing the most? And how do we find opportunities for them to do more of that? And I think the key here is that what the result of COVID is that people are burned out. They want a fresh start. They want a new beginning. And so what I challenge companies with is, are you going to help them figure out how to have a fresh start within your company? Or are you going to let them figure that out somewhere else?
And where's the joy? Where's the joy?
Yeah, I know.
People talk about that. Like, we want some joy and some spice in our lives. And half of our lives is we're working, right? With and learning about other people as well. How does a company bring in that joy for individuals? Would you say it's a combination of all those things?
Right. Look, the employee has a role in that too, right? And then your employer cannot help you find work you love if you don't help them identify what it is you genuinely enjoy doing.
Wait, we might need to say that again.
Do you need to play that back?
Yeah.
We'll put it on YouTube. Don't worry. But that is so true. Yeah.
It is so true. And here's the little nuance that employees have to remember. Just because, and managers actually, just because you're good at something, it doesn't mean you actually enjoy doing it. And so that is the difference there. So an employer might think, oh, well, so-and-so is so great at data crunching or whatever it is, but that person might actually hate doing that. Yeah. And so they're not going to want to continue to do that. So the employee has to say, okay, what gives me energy? Like what at the end of the day? And I'm like, wow, that was a good day. I was busy and it was challenging, but I feel energized and that was exciting. And I liked solving that problem. Like, what are those things? And so the employee has to help the manager to share that with the manager. Here's the stuff I love doing. And not just I love it for its own sake, but here's the impact on the business. Yeah. So when I do more of this thing, it benefits me, it benefits the business. So are there opportunities for me to do more of that? And that's where the manager can then help the employee to identify the opportunities. But the employee themselves has to identify, what is it? What are the common themes? If I think back to the work that I've loved, the projects that I've enjoyed doing, the initiatives that had a great impact that I'd like to do more of, what were the common themes? And some people have trouble with that. So what I recommend them doing is ask someone that knows you well in your life. Maybe it's a colleague, maybe it's your spouse, maybe it's a close friend. Ask them, like, when have you seen me happiest at work? You know, like, what was I doing? What was I working on? What were the conditions? What was my environment? And you'll start to get that input from other people too, which will be helpful. And then that's what you share with your manager. You know, like, I love doing this kind of work. I think it has a great impact on the business. How could we find more opportunities for me to do it?
Yeah. I love that you add that layer of like check in with your community or your tribe, because we talk about that all the time, and identifying, like, helping them identify for you, like a pulse check. You know, I had a friend, and it's funny because sometimes you will create relationships with people where you don't even have to bring it up. They will bring it up for you. Like I had a friend who I've worked with in the past several times, and she called me and she's like, whatever you're doing at Wagmo, like, is what you were supposed to be doing your whole life. Like, you know, she's like, I can tell that, you know, you are stepping into exactly what you should be doing, and like how you should be leading and how you should be feeding into future managers and organizations. You know, how do you really see, though, because everyone has a individual perspective and individual needs in an org, right? Like even on a specific team, everyone on the team may not have the same needs as someone else. So I think what we're seeing is, like, some folks want to work remote all the time. Right. And some people, myself being one of them, are like, where is the office? You know? And so how can managers really juggle that in conjunction with the company's goals and objectives?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And the truth is this is all one big experiment, if we're just being honest, right? Yeah. It's like, I've talked to tons of people that are in this space. I've read lots of articles. Everyone's like, we just have to choose. An organization meeting has to choose what their policies are going to be. And then we have to see how it plays out. And the communication to the employees has to be like, this is our decision for right now. We're going to see how it works and how happy people are, how the work is being done, and we may have to change our policies accordingly. And I think everyone has to be open to that. It has to be like a flexible, you know, process that we iterate on, because we don't know. And in a couple months, I mean, I hope not, with this Delta variant or whatever things might cause people to go back home. You know, so many things could come up. Or someone might say, I'm craving the office. I miss the collaboration and camaraderie. And then after they get their fix in a month, they're like, okay, I got my fix. Can I go back home now? Forever. Or the opposite, you know? So it's going to be tough. So companies do need to be flexible, and employees need to understand that these are really tough decisions organizations need to make, because they have rents they need to pay for the office space. They have lots of things to consider too. Yeah. And so everyone needs to be a bit more flexible. But what I would say, you know, going back to some of these fundamentals that I mentioned of, like, you know, making sure employees are connected to the work itself, the biggest theme I saw when I was traveling and meeting all these remote workers, but so many of them thought like, oh, if I could just work from the beach in Bali, I would be happy at work and I would be motivated, right? And then
until I got to the beach and I'm like, ooh, I'm not working.
Exactly.
I'm not working at all.
No, but or Netta, or they were, and they were like, okay, yeah, like it was a Band-Aid solution, like a short-term solution.
Yeah.
And
Bad Wi-Fi can mess up your whole vibe.
Really
Like it can.
That's what did it. That's what did it just into it.
Bad Wi-Fi, you can be like, okay, this is not working.
This is it.
But I'll tell you something that's so true, and something deeper than that. A lot of them were like, after a few months, they were like, you know what? Like, I still feel stuck. I still feel unfulfilled. Like, how is that possible? I'm like working in paradise. And it's because the work itself.
It's the work.
Itself wasn't what was motivating. They took a job that they didn't like in Baltimore and they took it to Bali and they thought that it would make the difference. And it's like, no, it's like the intrinsic motivation to do the work itself has to be engaging and motivating and inspiring. And so, yes, your environment can help. And I do believe that a lot of people are enjoying this flexibility of working from home, but, and that's empowering, right? I have a choice of where I get to do my work, but what's even more empowering is the fulfillment that comes from doing a job that you actually want to be doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so I think this is the key that companies have to remember. It's like, yes, and remember, companies in the past used to compete on perks, like we've got the ping pong table and the pizza and the happy hours and right. And now, like again, this working flexibly from home is going to be the new ping pong table, the new perk, right? So what does it come back to? Like, how do we make sure people like their jobs and they want to stay here and they're motivated and engaged? And it goes back to these like 6 basic things. And so I think why companies are hiring me to come in now is they're finally realizing, you know, we have to treat the individual as a whole person who has all these things going on, and that they want me to help their employees, you know, identify their role in this. Like Jacinta was like giving me the class for that, but everyone's got a role in figuring out how can we do this best. And I think that's, you know, that's going to be the key moving forward, is regardless of what companies choose, if they're hybrid policies or fully remote or whatever, let's get back to the fundamentals of, you know, setting clear goals for your employees so that regardless of where they work, it's really clear whether they're performing or not. Because
that's so true.
Yeah, what do companies want at the end of the day? They want performance. How is performance measured? The achievement of specific goals. And so they can't say, oh, people are not getting things done from home. It's like, no. We set these goals. Here's what I delivered on them. And if your manager's not asking you for updates or not helping you set the goals, it's your responsibility to do that and give them updates and say, here's the progress I'm making toward these goals. You know, regardless of where I'm working, you know, they're showing that they're getting the work done. So that's what's most important.
Wow.
Everybody get the book.
Listen, this is
now back to work. Now back to work. Everybody
pick up. If you don't have a copy of Sarah's book, please pick up Remotivation. Please. She drops every single gem in there. Okay. Please also reach out to her. We'll definitely be sure to post her contact information. She is absolutely amazing. And listen, if your organization is having a difficult time with this particular topic that we're talking about right now, even if they're not, listen, reach out to Sarah. Okay. Reach out to her. She is absolutely incredible. And she can really drive some change in that direction there. So thank you so much, Sarah, for being with us.
Thanks to both of you. It's so good to see you.
Thank you. It was so good to see you.
Absolutely. So to all professionals of color, connect with us on ourdipper.com right now by signing up and completing your profile on ourdipper.com so that we can unpack all the gems that Sarah dropped today. Also, be sure to rate and review all companies that you have worked for on ourdipper.com. Log in to share your voice and find your space. Thank you for joining, and we hope to see you on ourdipper.com today. Bye.
Bye.